It's running now, yeah.
Okay, then maybe say
Maybe.
say say welcome.
Welcome.
I'll do it again.
Okay, welcome. My name is Guilio Boy. I am here with Giulio Saltelli
Hello, everyone.
and with Kaya.
Hi. Maybe let's first just introduce ourselves. You are Kirti for boy.
I'm Guilio Boy. I'm a martial artist. I train some martial arts. I know massage and I teach a little bit. And we're here with Giulio. And Giulio with us.
Hello, everyone. So, my name is Giulio Saltelli. I'm a martial art practitioner from Italy, and I train, as I said, martial arts, meditation, and Qi Gong, which is a Chinese energy practice.
Okay, welcome. Hi, my name is Kaya. Um, yes, I don't train martial arts, but I do meditate a bit. I'm very interested in all sorts of spiritual stuff. Um, I teach statistics and business innovation, so that's something completely different. And today we're going to discuss a lot of things. So maybe let's start with the first question.
Okay, right. When did you start training?
So, I began my martial art practice when I was very young. My father was a karate teacher. So, when I was a kid, I was playing around in the dojo, annoying everyone when they were training. So, when I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old, they started officially teaching me karate Shotokan.
And from there,
No.
So basically, my relationship with karate was kind of a love-hate relationship, also because, of course, my dad was the teacher. And when I was old enough, I quit karate finally and be like, now it's over for me. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And just 1 year later, without even realize, I ended up in a Tai Chi school, and I completely fall in love with this practice, especially with the energy aspect of it, because I was okay. All this energy that people speak about is something tangible, something that we can experience directly, and something that has such big influence and impact, possibly on the life of everyone. And so that's how I got interested in energy work in general. And as soon as I finished school, I traveled to China to know more about these ancient practices.
and what did you find out?
Well, many things. The first,
So many things.
so many things.
So many things.
The first experience was not as pleasant as I thought, because I suddenly realized that it's not so easy to find in China uh, ancient and genuine traditions of energy work for, let's say, political situation and cultural situation. And so my first trip was mostly dedicated to searching different schools, different masters, uh, making friends who were also on the same type of search. Until on my second trip to China, I was invited to this temple, which is the Five Immortals Temple. And after meeting the master Li Shifu, yeah, I immediately had a feeling that this was something different, and took my time to stay there and investigate, and finally decided to that I had to stay there for at least a few years and suck in as much as I could from the knowledge of this man and this place.
So what was it that made that school different from the other ones?
Well, first, simply the fact that it was a temple that you could live in, that was already something that attracted me a lot. And well, the attitude of the teacher, previously in other schools, you always had teachers who were not sharing much about the spiritual side, or that they made you feel that they knew, but they didn't want to tell you because you were not ready or worthy. And people were like in this net of like confusion. Maybe I'm not ready. And when I arrived there, just the master was speaking until late at night with us about the stories, spirituality, all different religions, and you could see that he was very passionate about sharing what he knew with the students. So that first really like, okay, this guy really has a passion for it.
Yeah, it's seldom that you find people who are really want to share things.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Lots of people want to do things, and there will be everybody that hear me, hear me, hear me. but they don't want to share everything. They only want to share the things that they can control you.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
And it's terrible. I don't like it.
That's a bit like the guru idea,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
That
good
you
one.
put someone on a pedestal.
Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
but
That's the
the trick is you have people who want to, if you want to educate, you want to give them all. You don't want to give them half. Because if you give them
Yeah.
half, you don't give them anything. You get only an empty ball of air.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
If you want to give everything, you have to give yourself everything. You have to give yourself to the students
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
completely. And that's the whole trick. It's the whole strong thing, I think.
Totally.
but that's kind of similar to like where parents go like I'm sorry, I cannot have any judgment on this, right? Because I'm not a parent. But in essence,
I am.
when you are so in essence, when you get a kid, then it's your job to them to be self-sufficient within 18 years. And a lot of parents kind of don't want to let the child go. They don't want to give everything. There is this power struggle with control and like you are going to do as I say. Um, which kind of then is also mimicked in that teacher student relationship that you're now describing, right? Because there's no
Yes and no, because the parents say, you have to do as I say. I did it with you as well, but I always give you the reason why. And it's the full reason, not a half of the reason, it's the full reason.
yeah, but what if you okay, so self-awareness is also then maybe very important in being a parent that you are able to give a full reason.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It means that you have to look at yourself. And most of the teachers don't look at themselves, they only look at the students. I'm better than my students, so I'm good. But the real teacher has to look at themselves. Where's my failure? Where can I improve myself?
Mm-mm.
How can I improve myself? And then give it through give it to the students, and let the
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
students experience that he or she is also still struggling and also still developing, and
Mm-mm.
but show the way, and then the students can say, "Ah, he is also on the way," and there's a much more closer connection to the person,
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
and there's much more reality,
Mm-mm.
because then the teacher becomes a human.
Totally.
And if they are human, you can revert to it, and it's not a god in the air, because the god in the air you can only worship. Then the
Mm-mm.
human, you can follow the path. And the whole thing about martial arts or Tai Chi or Qigong or whatever is following the path or
Mm-mm.
walking the path. It's following, walking the path. The teacher has to be there to show the path.
Totally agree. And I think a lot of the difference also comes in the end to what the teacher values the most. If values the growth of the student the most, like a parent would, in a sense, more like selflessly wish for the student to grow, then it can also have its shortcomings, it lacks of understanding,
Mhm.
but the relationship is based on a healthy intention. And unluckily, that is not always the case. Of course, we are not here to like point the fingers and to, make a case of bad teachers, but unluckily, we live in a world governed by money, and they do influence a lot decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. That's
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
always the problem. You see that
Mm-mm-mm.
people don't want to open up. The teachers don't want to open up because they lose control.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that if you let go of control, your students can get a lot of things out of it. They can
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
improve themselves. If you let go of holding, grabbing, and you let go, you see that the students can, hey, and that helps them in their lives as well.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that one point you see them giving it also to other people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop there. And one of my teachers always told me that when you are a son, everybody comes in your warmth and they're warming. They go home to their house and then it's cold again. You
Mm-mm.
can also teach people how to be a son. And then they
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
go home and they warm other people. And that's the last part. You can also teach people how to build sons for other people.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
And then it never stops. Then you only get sunny everywhere.
That's beautiful.
Rain is also important, by the way. We're not discriminating. My point.
It's no, it's no.
So also important, at least in this part mm, of
But,
the earth.
but you try to
Mm-mm.
in spirit inspiration, bring inspiration into your I would say children or students. You try to give them something that they can work with. They have to work with. And the people who want to have control are most the people who are working. You only have to do one, two, three, four, and then you're ready.
Mm-mm-mm.
But the real teacher says there's one, two, three, and four. Enjoy. Find your own way in it.
Mm-mm.
And then you see growth because they learn to learn. And if they learn to learn, they s- they don't stop developing. They start to grow the whole time
Mm-mm.
with or without a teacher.
True, true, I agree. Mm-mm.
That's why we like each other.
Ah, okay. Ah.
Because we're even stupid, you know. That's
I also believe that if you start giving freely, then people will feel they will feel that
yeah.
they actually are growing and actually are learning, and then they will return, and then they will be very, very, hopefully, very passionate about what they're learning
Yeah.
Yeah.
at your place, and maybe also get more passionate about learning at other places.
Yes. Things are changing then.
Okay, but we were discussing, or you said somewhere, the teacher becomes human. So, what are the current struggles or difficulties that you are facing in your own journey within martial arts and spirituality?
Shall I start?
Huh?
Shall I start?
Please, please.
I have a constant struggle with my body. My body doesn't do the things I want to do. I get older, and therefore I'm not able to do the things I want to do. My mind says you're 20, and my body says you're 80, and somewhere in between. No, it's not. It's terrible. But no, at one point my body says I can't. You can't do what you want. Hey, your mind says do this, and your body says no. And then I have to struggle with it, and I'm have to find a new balance. And the more you older you get, the more different the balance will be. So in the beginning, I was very physically training, and
Mm-mm.
now I'm older. I have to train a lot more mentally, spiritual. So, and that's how it should be. I think. I think that's normal.
Well, that's the case for most people, yes. At
Mm.
some point,
Yeah,
you have reached an
I
age
think
where your
it's.
body is.
I think it's unnatural if you do 1,000 kilometers of running if you're 18. I don't think it's very nice to do. Not good for your body. It's only will. And trick is will is ego. And you want to dissolve your ego during your spiritual journey. So no,
Mm-mm.
you have to let
Let's not do
go.
that. And
So you have to open up.
some people turn 80 and they're still like super, like physically, they are like
It's good.
in perfect shape. And it's a possibility.
It's on average, yeah. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about exceptions, but most of the time you feel that your body can't do it anymore, so your spirit has to do it. So
Mm-mm.
instead of doing it with will, I'm doing it with openness, and I see how
Mm-mm.
far I come
Mm-mm.
without reaching, wants to reaching. But that's so anyhow the problem. In one point, you stop wanting to reach something. You don't want to reach
Mm-mm.
this 500 push-ups every day. No, you don't want to reach. You just want to reach fulfillment. So how many
Mm-mm.
push-ups that you need in your body and your mind.
Mm-mm.
And if you can listen to that, you can grow. If you're 150 years old, you still can grow.
Beautiful.
But
Thank you.
you are older. You are a bit younger.
Yes.
Say
Half my age.
your age, yes.
Yes.
So are you facing the same issue? Probably
No.
not. I am going
No.
to guess.
No, luckily no.
Okay, so what are you currently facing?
Um, so, well, let's see. Many things. I believe that the relationship with this practice and with your passion in general, it's like a love relationship, like with a person, and you have to cultivate this love. And of course, you may have the what is called the honeymoon phase, also in martial arts or spirituality, when you discover it and everything is awesome and everything is new, and you just can't get enough. And of course, when the time comes, this new freshness starts to dissolve, and you have to find new ways to keep falling in love with this path, because there is no way of going forward just by obliging yourself to go forward. It's just like a cold relationship. It doesn't work. I mean, it can work, but it makes you even more sick. And so I think that's the thing with spiritual practice and martial arts in general. It's something that we do in our life to improve the quality of our life, of our human experience, to grow. And so it has to be something that gives value and not something that takes away value or becomes something that you have to do and something that you feel bad because you're not doing and stuff like this.
So how did you manage to like re-fall in love again with your practices?
So I think for you to keep this love fresh, you have to be willing to deconstruct like fixed ideas because fixed ideas are static. And so, for example, there's a certain way everybody sees spirituality and that is globally accepted. But what if your character develops and the idea that you had before is not anymore in line with that concept? Then you have to be willing to deconstruct and transform your way to deal with spirituality to match your new passions and your new inspiration. And I think there's nothing for human more valuable than new inspiration every time there is like something that inspires you, whatever it may be, like cooking something or listening to some music or anything. That's what you have to put your attention on because it's like your inner self saying, "Oh, this is interesting and important for me." And so also my spiritual practice has to adapt and move toward this direction where my inspiration guides me to.
Okay. So what is then one fixed idea in your head that you can maybe explain that you had to let go of? Then maybe a
Well,
clear
I have
answer.
very clear examples actually, because of course, when I was in the temple, like I was living a life that was, let's say, not a monastic life 100% because I was not an ordained monk, but I mean, practicing the whole day and living a life completely dedicated to the temple, the practice, the family. And when I came back, I went to live to Barcelona, so which is the opposite of
Yeah.
a Taoist temple. And so, yeah, at the beginning, I was feeling like a fish out of water, totally like completely outside of my environment, completely isolated, and very attached to the idea of that self that I have had built in these years. And then after that, I started to realize that normal people who didn't go through the practice
Hmm.
I went through, in some aspects, were more healthy and more natural and more
Yeah.
Hmm.
spontaneous than me, you know? And then I had, okay, now I have to start deconstructing a lot of things. And that's where, like, I rediscovered many things that I was enjoying before, like this monastic period, and saying, oh, okay, like this is something that I really like. This is really a part of me, something that I want to cultivate. And it doesn't make me less spiritual. Um, I don't know, to go out and enjoy, or I don't know, to dress in a certain way, or to talk in a certain way, or to listen to a certain kind of music. It doesn't make you less spiritual. And I think if you look at many spiritual masters in the world, you can see that they are all crazy and different. You know, they don't follow one like stereotype
Yeah.
that if you are enlightened, you behave like this, you are talk like this, and they are like completely different characters, and that's the beauty, you know. Their own inner qualities are brought to the maximum explosion. And so, yeah, that's the last years I've been trying to deconstruct a bit the idea, and I find myself a little bit more inside of all this spiritual idea. You know.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Yeah, it's the same thing. If you want to teach somebody, you
Mm,
have to deconstruct yourself first to understand what's happening. So you see the building blocks, and then you can give the building blocks to the person you're teaching.
mm,
If you don't know those building blocks, how can you teach? But it means that you have to be aware of what is me and what is somebody else.
mm, 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 mm,
And I think that's very wise to see that your spirituality is not something; it's part of you.
mm, 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 mm.
It's not something different, and it's not the
Totally.
path that everybody walks. Everybody walks a different spiritual path. And if you are aware of that, that means that you're also aware of letting go, and you're aware of that nothing is pre-decided.
Totally.
Everything can be different at the moment, at the spot. And that's so beautiful. Then you let go and then you're growing. If you're holding, you're not growing.
Totally. There's a sentence that I like that says that spiritual practice is not a mathematical formula that I take from somebody else and copy paste onto my own life.
Yes.
And
Right.
yes, I totally agree with
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I do like math.
uh,
Sorry.
Yes, but the math is something that has to do with the physical world.
I know.
And spirituality has nothing to do with the physical world. And that's the difference.
5 different types of energy, right?
5 different types of energy here. The 5 elements.
So how are you both now, or can you maybe elaborate a bit on how you are training then in your daily life? Because both of you had an education um, that was not standard, right? You trained with monks and stuff. Um, so how are you taking that world for you in particular, Julio? Like, hey, I went to China and now you're back. And like, how are you then keeping your spiritual practice alive within the modern world?
Okay. Um, when I came back from China, I was like, oh, finally, I don't have my master behind my neck all the time, ordering me to do this and that.
Yeah.
Masters always push you a lot and make you work hard. And in the temple, I had to hide sometimes to practice, because otherwise he would make me do some chores. And so when I came back, I was like, nice. Now I can do standing meditation the whole day, just looking outside of my window, which was more or less what I was doing in the temple with that element of disturbance, let's say. Let's say. So when I got home to my this content, I quickly figured out that it was not so easy in Barcelona as it was in the temple on top of a Chinese mountain. So very quickly, like my iron discipline was starting to like get destroyed by the weight of society and time, and it was very hard for me to accept that I was not gonna be able to practice as much as I thought. Um, Actually, yeah, in Taoism they have this concept of cultivating into the red dust, which is the concept of a practitioner needs to put himself inside society, which is the greatest grinding mechanism
Yes.
for yes, yes.
Fully agree.
Especially if you live in a big city with traffic, with many things, friendship, life, work, all these things, which is like a grind for the character. And yeah, life itself is the practice. So I still do my practice. It's changes a lot. It can go from like half an hour, 1 hour a day of meditation, qigong, stretching, sometimes more. Sometimes I don't even practice for like 1 or 2 weeks. It's really, really fluid. Um, and yes, it's as I was saying before, it's mostly trying to do the work in the life that surrounds me. For example, try to understand, okay, what are the challenges that I'm facing now? What are the limitations that my life is showing me now? What are the steps that I can make to progress in my personal journey? And so in this case, really trying to make out of life your real practice.
Yeah.
And what the formal practice is just a little aid to support you and help you gain more insight, gain more strength for life, more structure. Yeah,
That helps you.
totally. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
formal
mean,
practice is kind of like accelerating the growth that you can get through living your life.
totally, totally. I mean, everybody, all of us are learning through our life. Just some of us are very stubborn and spend their whole life and just they had one lesson when they were very young and like 60 years later still complaining about this one lesson and not moving. And we are all like this. We are very stubborn. But I think when you understand that spiritual practice is made for you to facilitate this growing process, then that's what spiritual practice becomes its most effective.
Yeah.
So how can you like learn your lessons and then move on to the next lesson, and then move on to the next
If you
lesson?
don't,
Well, in the end, you die.
I mean, you learn your lessons, and there's no lesson number one, lesson number two, lesson number three. They all glide into each other. So if you solve one problem, you automatically solve another problem, or you get sight on the next problem. You see the next problem. Before that, you couldn't see the problem
Mhm.
because you were struggling with this problem.
Yeah, but that's what I'm. But if you would not have learned your lesson, then like then you would get that lesson in your face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you will probably run into the same situation. So in order, like when you solve your lesson,
Yeah.
which is just a part of the whole, then new things become
Yeah.
available to you, and then you choose your next hurdle.
It's like you have a journey. You walk from A to B, and every time you see the landscape changing,
Mhm.
and the further you come, the more you will be wise enough to see the landscape, and then you can be wise enough to see the changing of the landscape, and you will be wise enough to to know what's going to be the next step, and then you start. Then you're already busy with your spiritual growth, but every time you improve yourself, you see more and more and more of everything around you.
Yeah, and some people, as Julio said, they just have this landscape, and then they're like, "This landscape sucks, but I'm not gonna move."
No, they don't see the landscape; they only see themselves.
Oh, and then there's just
I'm standing in the landscape; they don't see the landscape. So they
Yeah.
don't see anything. There's no change because they don't walk because they are in themselves. They're not to the outside. There's no connection with the outside. I am me and I'm sad and I'm a slave or I'm weak. I'm whatever. They put restrictions on themselves and they don't grow. And as long as you put restrictions on yourself, you don't grow. The moment you let go of those restrictions or several, you'll see there's a movement. And restrictions is not about I'm not able to do 100-meter high jump. No, of course you can't. This is physically, mentally you've got the same challenges.
Who says that you cannot enjoy jumping
Yeah, but
just in
okay,
general
but that
and get better at it?
at that moment,
While saying that,
at that moment you release the restriction already, and then you can see, hey, I'm growing. Otherwise, you can't grow.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, already seeing that you have a challenge and a lesson in front of you, that's already a big
that's a
step.
win.
That's already a big step that is difficult to make because, as he was saying, when we are inside that narrative, that landscape, we don't even see one palm from our face. So individuating the challenge at play is already one big step. And then from there, this helps you also to make a step back, observe things with more perspective. And then it takes some time to really, sometimes years, to figure out what is the proper stance you could adopt in front of this situation. And then even more years, maybe, to then actually put it into practice because it's not enough to understand. My problem is I always recreate the same situation that I had, I don't know, with my first love, with all my relationships. Let's say, for example, and I understand it's because this victim thing, and I do nothing to change it, and it's continue to repeat.
Yeah.
So it needs to have all these steps, understanding, well, noticing, then understanding, and then working. And I think it works a lot like waves of digesting the problem. And then you think you solved it, it gets a bit better, then it comes back even stronger, and then you adjust it again, and maybe and slow by slow. But at least when you do this, the scenario changes, and I think life is better because if you're always repeating the same lesson, it gets boring, unmotivating, and it's everything tastes the same. And when you are moving forward in the story, then it's interesting. There's new things, there's new tastes, there's new mm, challenges. Adrenaline is.
It's not no inspiration.
Yeah.
You will get the same amount of challenges. It's just that in the first scenario, you're kind of stuck on the same types. And in
Mm-mm-mm.
the second, you're experiencing new types of
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah, but also you recognize the challenges much more easier.
Mm-mm-mm.
Oh yeah, no, but that's a byproduct. But just for like what you will get in front of your face, right, in
Well,
life.
my teacher told me that you have to acknowledge that you have a problem, then you have to realize that you have a problem,
Mm-mm.
and then you have to solve the problem.
Mm-mm-mm.
And if you do that, then you see the next problem, maybe the same problem, but then layer deeper.
Mm-mm-mm.
And even you're going through, the layers deeper will improve. And then you see even more.
Yeah.
The problem that was once so big is just so small in the end.
Mm-mm-mm.
And if it's so small in the end, it's not important anymore. I loved it.
Yeah.
You start with a problem, it's very big. Oh, wait. It gets smaller, 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 smaller. At one moment, no, what did it bring?
Mm-mm.
It was all I'm busy with. Forget it. You get a realization of how physical things are. How
Mm-mm-mm.
we think the things are. Oh man, I need a piece of chocolate. It's very important that chocolate. At one
Mm-mm.
point, you see. Oh yeah, wait. I've been eating 10 times as much during my life, so that the whole piece of chocolate is not so important anymore.
Mm-mm-mm.
So why should I be bothered with it?
Mm-mm-mm.
It's also very nice at some point when you have let go of several of those problems. And for example, I had fear of failure, and now I see that in my students. And well, in my students, it's not too bad. I don't get triggered that much. But sometimes I also see it in like other people in my life, and I'm like, why are you just not taking that risk? Like it's so this is a non-issue, and you just get triggered, and then you're like, oh, I would have gotten like really triggered if I could have now talked to my previous self.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
It's
But,
very
but the trick is now you see,
annoying to realize sometimes.
but you see students struggle with this,
Mhm.
but you've gone through that process, so you can help your students also get through the process.
Mm-mm-mm.
And that's the whole beautiful thing about it. It's if you're going further in your spiritual path, you don't you can help people by just knowing what you've been through,
Mm-mm.
and you see the perspective a lot more. So what they are stuck in, you see, you think you're blocked everywhere, but somebody's only holding your little finger.
Mm-mm-mm.
And don't hold your hands. They don't put your hands on the throat. You make it like
Mhm.
this. It's only somebody's holding your little finger. Just let it go.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then they say, "Oh, wait, you're wise." No, you're not. You're wise. I just
I solved
been
some of
there.
my own shit.
Yeah, I solved with my own shit. Yeah, that's
Mm-mm.
really the question. That's really the trick. And they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah." No, absolutely not. Just I walk that path and I know what's happened. And if I can help you with it, very good. And I go further.
Yeah. I think that's also very, very interesting. This mechanism that what I have learned then is what I can teach and what I can share for people to consider when they are thinking about what they can do and what they can offer in life. Because I see so many times people don't know what they can offer, and maybe they have been like dealing with some struggles all this time, and they know very well about this struggle, um, I think there's nothing more valuable than knowing very well the challenge you had in your past, because then that makes you really able to help other people.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of your challenge,
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also sometimes feel like it can go a bit too far, and
Mm-hmm.
that people are like, yeah, but I lived through this, so I can help other people, and then it's like, yeah, but not everyone. Like then um there's a risk of projection. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know what you're going through, and it's like
That's
maybe some part, but not everything because
Yeah,
you're not the
totally.
same person
yeah, but
in the exact same
that's the miss
situation.
of humility. You have to be uh, you have to be small to do that.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
If they say I've gone through that part, no, I've never gone. I can say for myself, I've never gone through that part. I can
Yeah.
always get deeper and deeper and deeper. But I see what kind of problems they had at
Yeah.
that level, so I can help you. But I'm a few levels deeper, and somebody else needs to help me, or I have to
Yeah.
help myself.
Yeah, or maybe like you you don't know exactly what they're going through, but you can be that push that gets them
Yeah,
like into the right direction, or maybe you can help them solve even like 30% of what they're going through.
I will never push somebody in a direction. I will only
They,
push somebody.
okay, so they will let them be pushed by you
Yeah,
into a certain direction.
But the trick is, I never push them in a certain direction. I only push them because if they're moving, they can see the landscape changing and they can change.
Hmm.
And
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
if I'm going to push them in that direction, they see the landscape they are expecting or they want to have.
Mm.
No, then they're not growing. They're only growing that way, but I want to grow them everywhere.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's so
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
sometimes
Very interesting.
a beautiful kick,
A beautiful kick.
a beautiful kick behind the parts that the sun doesn't shine will help people to start moving, and
Yeah.
they have to decide to move. If I say you have to move towards there, then it's not their move, it's my move.
So they
I'm
just
not
know
just
what it feels like to move.
I want to make them move, and then they have to decide what am I going to do with the movement.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. It's beautiful because so many times people already know what they need to do and what they want. They just don't do it. And I mean, we can totally relate because we are in the same boat.
We're humans.
And yeah, sometimes we don't really need you to tell them what to do. Just little push.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
But you also get to do
maybe,
that physically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get to do that.
but sometimes even the wrong way.
Mm.
They can see, oh, I don't want to do that, and they walk back and they walk through. Then I'm happy. Sometimes people come to me and, Kitty, I've been there. Okay, you go back there. You want to go back there? You go back there. You don't want to go back there. And they go back and then, oh, I hate it, and they walk through. And but I did it myself because I walked through. Oh, good, it's yourself. I only have to push you. No problem. I don't need the credits for it. I don't need the blame for it. I just push you, and it's
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
enough. And that's fun.
Get them out of balance.
Get them out of balance, yeah. And the whole martial arts or the whole spiritual arts are only keeping yourself out of balance because then there's
Mm.
place to grow. People who don't get themselves out of balance, they want to be secure. They don't want to
Mm-mm-mm.
move. So they keep themselves secure and nothing happens. You
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
have to challenge yourself. You have to bring yourself out of balance. Then you start learning. Otherwise, you can't learn.
So, any best practices in like how to get yourself out of balance?
What you don't
Of
want to
tips
do,
or
do
tricks.
that.
Of what you don't want to do. Okay. So ask yourself every morning, what am I hesitant to do?
Yeah,
And
well,
then
let's say I would not, I will not actually promote exactly what you don't want to do. It will bring you to very strange things.
yeah, but maybe an
Strange
interesting
things.
life, right?
Yeah, well, very interesting. Like in the Yes Men,
Yeah.
in the famous.
Mm.
Well, it is very deep actually.
Yeah.
But no, generally, I think trusting more the voice of the inspiration inside of you and trying to go because of course you have many parts of you who want to do many things, of course, but you already know which ones of these things that you want to do actually are the one you really need and are good for you, and that's how nobody can really tell you like what it is. It can be like something very practical, something very abstract, something very whatever thing. And yeah, there's no real formula that some external person can give to you.
But what
Wait, wait,
do
wait, wait.
you? Yeah.
There's one thing that keeps you out of balance. That's your ego. Your ego says, I want to do that, but your ego wants to do it, not your
Mm,
life,
mm,
not your
mm,
spirit, not
mm,
your. No, only your ego wants to do it. So you're going to do that and you get stuck.
mm, mm, mm,
The moment you let your ego get out of the equation,
mm, 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 mm,
forget it. Just what feels good, what really feels good, not what
mm,
but I want on the surface
mm,
or
mm,
deep down. What's really there.
mm,
You
mm,
do that thing. You bring yourself out of balance, and you learn.
mm, mm, mm.
So how do you both then feel that one of those things is right? Like, do you have physical symptoms, or is there like, I don't know, something else that happens in your life when you feel like you are
Mm.
supposed to do something?
For me, it's like a sense organ that you need to develop gradually, and the sensation I think is feel similar to like when you are in a small room and you go out and it's like, it feels bigger. Yeah. When
Mhm.
you have an idea about doing something or not doing something, and just makes you feel like, ooh,
You can
this
breathe.
openness, this
Mhm.
lightness,
Small
and
enlightenment. A small enlightenment.
that's more enlightenment. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
For,
there
for,
was a time before
Hmm.
that you had not yet developed this sense.
yeah.
Hmm.
How did you develop that sense?
I think by following it, trying to follow it. Of course, many times, as there are many voices, and our ability, let's say, our ability to listen to the inner voice is limited to our degree of introspection. So we will never know what is the deepest thing we want to do inside of us. The only thing we can listen is until where our introspection can reach. But I think that information is the best information we have now, because even if it brings us to a path that is not really productive, or it brings us to some mistakes and something, it still brings us to develop even more our introspection, our trust, our intuition. And so, yeah, then you start to trust it more, and it becomes stronger because you realize, yeah, it was worth to follow it.
For me, it's going not to be afraid to get flat on your nose.
Mm-mm,
Don't be afraid to fall or
mm-mm,
to get disgraced or whatever. Don't
mm-mm,
be afraid. That's the whole thing. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake.
Mhm.
mm-mm,
And that's what a lot of people are afraid to make a mistake and therefore are afraid to move,
mm-mm, mm-mm,
afraid to make decisions. Because maybe I make a wrong decision. Yeah. Somebody died? No. Is exploding? Ragnarok? Or nothing happens. Whatever, you turn around and walk the
mm-mm,
right way.
mm-mm,
So be able and be taking care of the consequences, be able to bear the consequences that you're making or the decisions you're making. That's for me the most important thing.
mm-mm, mm-mm,
Not be afraid. If you get hurt, you get hurt. You went to China, if you're in China and you wouldn't find anything, you still have made a journey.
mm-mm,
And it gives you peace of mind. Even if you didn't find anything, it would still give you peace of mind
mm-mm,
because you
mm-mm.
searched. You didn't find, you searched.
Totally. Mm-mm,
And some people can't do that. They still already, but no, I maybe not finding some anything, and it goes well, and then I don't have money, and they make their whole scenario already without stepping one step,
mm-mm, mm-mm,
and they don't live then.
Yeah, no,
So
and
you have to make this. You have to train this decision making. This
mm-mm,
how to. You have to train that. You have to, and you can only train by trial and error,
mm-mm,
not by other things.
mm-mm,
but on a more maybe relatable skill for a lot of people, or maybe that's just my bubble, right?
mm-mm,
Um, like I was looking for a job a couple of years ago,
mm-mm,
and then there's also this part where you are getting rejected, and you are
mm-mm,
like, I was going into a different direction because I really didn't want to do the stuff that I was doing before because it really did not suit me or my values or my personality. Um, although I had a great time in my previous jobs, honestly. Like I met a lot of nice people, I learned a lot, but I wanted to do something different. But it's also about just then trying stuff out and going to these interviews and then not getting a job or not feeling like it's the right one, even though you get an offer.
mm-mm,
But then you do have to make that decision to don't settle for less, not let yourself be like led by fear of
Don't
not
sell
finding
yourself.
anything and not selling myself. Well, yeah,
mm-mm,
in that sense that obviously a job is like exchange, like
mm-mm,
effort for
mm-mm,
money. But yeah,
mm-mm,
But that's what you try to do, eh? You try to find yourself in that situation, but you're not afraid to go further. You're not afraid to
mm-mm,
say yes or no to something because there's always more on the horizon. It never
mm-mm,
ends.
mm-mm,
People think there's an end point. No, there's no end point. Yeah, when you die, there's an end point. Before that,
yes,
there's always possibilities to change your
mm-mm,
decisions and
mm,
to develop further.
mm-mm.
yes, that's true. And it's
Oh,
also,
nice.
but you can also, um, how do you say that? it's also allowing yourself that freedom because you can get caught up in like a physical world in which you are stuck. Like for example, you take out like the largest mortgage loan to buy the largest house that you, I don't know, maybe don't even need. Like there will be people that need the
Mhm.
like the maximal mortgage because they need that space for a house, but some people don't, and then you get yourself stuck into commitments and stuff. Maybe you don't have a job that you like, and then you have to keep at that job because you're making a certain amount of money. So you can get yourself stuck in like this physical world, and it's also about, I guess, making the decisions that you don't get stuck in that sense.
Yeah, but this is the reality, yeah?
Mm.
Acknowledging the reality. I can buy a big house, but if I'm only with two persons, why should I have a big house? To be satisfied with what you have, and if you're improving, then it's improving, but you're satisfied with what you already have. And that's also part of the spiritual world, I think. If you're satisfied, if you don't need more, but you can have more by inner growth, not external growth, but inner growth, you can divert all the energy for external growth into the inner growth. So if you're constantly, what you say, you're buying a house, you have a top mortgage, you have to every week you have to turn every diamond to survive.
Yeah, and spend all your time in like fixing
Yeah.
stuff.
And if you're big enough or developed enough or have grown enough to acknowledge that you don't need this big house, you can use that money also to spend on things that are making your life better.
Mhm.
The house is only making your life worse, and you can also choose to get things that makes your life better. For instance, a journey, a physical journey to somewhere, or meet people or help people with the money,
Or work less
or work less
and more time with
spend,
family. That's
yeah,
also
spend more time with your
possible.
family, with the people who are giving you energy back. But a lot of people are only hunting the money and not the life they want to live. And if you can do that, you can turn it around and say, whatever I get, I can use to improve my life and therefore also other lives. Then you walk a spiritual path.
Okay, any last questions?
Last
Do
or
you
lost
have?
questions?
Both are fine. Last questions, last questions.
I don't have any questions at the moment.
No,
Okay.
this was good for me.
Yes.
Okay, then um, I would like to thank you both.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
And we
Thank you
You.
very much.
close this conversation and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.